Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your curiosity and a stack of your suggested sources and really pull out the core insights.
Yeah, think of it as your way to get, seriously well-informed, but efficiently. We find those aha moments for you.
And today, we're diving into something fascinating, sparked by one of you, actually. We're looking at excerpts from a YouTube video.
That's right. It's called Buddha Episode 4, Full LHD, Full Episode 1 through 55, Gautam Buddha's Serial. It's from the Modi Studios channel.
Exactly. Now, we should be clear up front. This isn't like a documentary.
No, not at all. It's a dramatization.
Yeah.
A fictional take on, events in the early life of Siddhartha.
The prince who, of course, later becomes the Buddha. So it's more about how the story gets told.
Right. And our mission here for this deep dive is to explore these moments shown on screen, these early years.
We want to kind of understand young Siddhartha's experiences, see if we can spot any early signs.
Early signs of his later thinking, yeah. How's his character shown? What was the world like that's depicted around him? That's the focus.
Okay, let's get into it then. First up, Siddhartha's first appearance at the Shakya. Yeah, Togine, yeah. The Justice Assembly, kind of like their local court or council.
And he's then with his father and his cousin Devadatta. Seems like a big deal his first time.
Oh, definitely. And the scene starts with blessings for Siddhartha. Shatayushipava Kirtimampava.
Okay. Standard blessings.
Essentially wishing him long life, fame, brilliance, like the sun god, their family deity, Surya. It's his formal welcome into that side of things.
But even before they go, there's this little moment with his mother that jumped out at me.
Oh yeah, what was that?
He asked her, is it necessary to wear so many ornaments to go? He's already feeling weighed down.
Literally. All that jewelry. But maybe, like you said, figuratively too, the weight of being a prince.
It kind of hints at his later ideas, doesn't it? Simplicity, detachment.
That's a really sharp observation. And we also see that tradition of the black mark.
Black mark, yeah. To ward off the evil eye. Very common cultural thing. Right. But what really got me in that opening bit was Siddhartha complaining directly.
About the ornaments.
Yeah, he said something like, Dev, you put so many ornaments on me, I can't even play properly.
It's such a kid thing to say, but it really draws that contrast, doesn't it? Between duty and just being a kid.
Exactly. Even in this formal assembly, welcoming him and Devadatta, his mind is still on playing. It sets him apart right from the start.
Yeah, how do you square your own wants with what society expects, even when you're that young? Okay, so the stage is set. Now we get into a real test for him. The case of the borrowed grain. Right.
So you've got two farmers, Kushal and Gauri, and they're in a dispute.
What's the core issue? Grain, obviously, but...
It's a debt. Kushal borrowed grain from Gauri, but says his crops failed for 2 years running, so he couldn't repay.
Okay, understandable maybe.
And he even says he put oil on the little wheat he did have to stop it spoiling. So he's trying, seems responsible.
But Gauri's not buying it.
Not at all. She accuses him of lying, says she saw him storing wheat, basically implying he has enough. Classic he said, she said.
Right. So how do they try to solve this? Devadatta steps up first.
Yeah, Devadatta suggests the initial khanas, the judgment. And his idea is pretty drastic.
What does he say?
He says Kushal should just give his field to Gauri, forfeit the land.
Whoa, that's harsh. I mean, how does Kushal survive then? Or ever repay?
Exactly. It feels more like punishment than, finding a real solution.
And this is where Siddhartha steps in, right? This is the key moment.
This is it. Siddhartha questions the whole idea of taking the land. He asks, well, how will Kushal feed his family?
Yeah, and how is he supposed to pay the debt back if he has no land to farm? Good point.
And he also points out that Gauri doesn't exactly look like she's starving either.
So what's a solution?
Much more practical. Just give Kushal more time to repay, extend the deadline, let him get back on his feet.
Okay, now that shows a completely different way of thinking about justice.
Totally different. Devadatta is all about the strict rules, the tradition.
While Siddhartha's looking at the actual consequences for people, there's real compassion there.
It's not just about settling the score, it's about empathy, thinking long term. A huge contrast to Devadatta's punish now idea.
You can really see the seeds of his later teachings there, understanding the root causes, thinking about impact.
Absolutely. Devadatta seems to value the system, the contracts above all. Siddhartha's focused on human well-being. It makes you think, what is the point of justice? Just rules.
Or trying to actually help people prevent more hardship.
Exactly.
And then there's a twist with some coins, right?
Right.
Oil-stained coins.
Yeah, that's how it unravels. Kushal says he already paid Gary back, partly, with coins. Gary flatly denies it.
Okay.
But Siddhartha, and here's that keen observation, again, notices oil stains on the coins Kushal has.
Linking back to Kushal saying he preserved his grain with oil.
Precisely. It's this tiny detail, but it proves Kushal was telling the truth about the oil.
Yeah.
And exposes Gauri's lie about the repayment. So Gauri gets punished, lashes.
Ouch. But even then, Siddhartha does something unusual.
He does. He steps forward and basically takes responsibility for Gauri. Says he'll make sure she doesn't lie again.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's remarkable, taking responsibility for the person who lied.
It shows this deep belief in reform, not just punishment, a commitment to guiding her. It's pure compassion, really, beyond just justice.
And the crowd loves it, right? They praise his skill in justice.
They do. His approach clearly resonates with the people.
So Siddhartha wins the day, wins the crowd. How's Devada taking all this? I can't imagine he's thrilled.
Oh, definitely not thrilled. He's visibly annoyed. And he actually says that a ruler should be more harsh.
Not compassionate like Siddhartha.
Exactly. He sees that compassion as weakness. Thinks a king needs people to fear punishment, not, feel understood.
But couldn't you argue Devadatta's point? Maybe harsh justice does deter others from avoiding debts. Is there a trade-off?
That's a fair point. It's that age-old tension, isn't it? Strict order versus empathetic governing. There's definitely an argument that Devadatta's way maintains social structure, maybe.
A tough balance. And this difference between them leads to a decision about Siddhartha's schooling.
Yes, the initial idea is to send him off to Taxila, the big famous Dafanase, the learning center.
Right. But his mother objects.
She does, strongly. She proposes setting up a Napanai right there in Kapilavastu instead.
And her eyes will be his taxila. Wow. Protective.
Very. Wants to keep him close, maybe shape his views more directly.
And it's not just for him, right? Other kids get included.
Yeah, which is nice. Makes it more of a community thing, seems more inclusive.
But Devadatta, he's still not happy.
Not at all. He's fuming. We see him talking to Mangala, complaining that he's being overlooked, that this was his chance.
Oh, the envy is real. Siddhartha's success is definitely bothering him. Okay, moving on. The encounter with Channa and the concept of caste. This feels like a really important one.
It's huge, yeah. We see the kids playing, and Siddhartha starts talking to Channa.
Channa, who is a
charioteer's son, so considered lower caste. And Siddhartha just asks him point blank, why can't I touch you? Because of your fall and your low caste.
It's such a simple, direct question, cuts right through it all.
And then he follows up with that observation that Channa bleeds to if he gets hurt, just like him.
Powerful, so human. It just obliterates the basis for that kind of division, doesn't it?
It really challenges it at its core. The explanation he gets is, well, you're born in a palace, he was born in a small house.
But that doesn't really answer the why, does it? Not for someone like Siddhartha.
No, clearly not satisfying for him. He wants to understand it logically.
And then dramatically, Channa saves him from a horse.
He does. A real act of bravery.
So does that change things? Maybe bridge the gap a little?
You'd hope so. But the reactions kind of show how deep these divisions run. Devada is angry.
Angry. Why? Because someone lower dared to help the prince.
Probably something like that. And Mangala is concerned, worried about breaking the social rules, the repercussions.
So even a heroic act gets filtered through the lens of caste. Wow.
It really highlights that tension between, individual actions and the rigid social structure.
Okay, next scene. The Vapra Mangal Festival, an annual thing.
Yeah, the plowing festival.
Yeah.
Likely mark the start of the farming season, big social event.
And important people are there, like Adabua and...
Yashodhara.
Yes, Yashodhara. Well, becomes his wife later.
Right. And her arrival is apparently quite something.
It is. In this telling, she arrives on an elephant.
An elephant. Okay, making an entrance.
And some read that as her father, Danpani, showing off their wealth and status. A bit of a power play, maybe?
Asserting their position, and there's a line directed at Siddhartha about her.
Someone says to him, now she belongs to you. Whoa. So direct. What does that tell us?
Well, it heavily suggests it was all prearranged, an expected marriage.
And that phrase, belongs to you, really highlights the lack of agency, especially for women then. The social pressure.
Exactly. Gives you a sense of the world he was navigating.
Okay, next, Siddhartha's playing a game, like a board game.
Yeah, something like that. But even while playing, his mind is working. This is observing the aging process.
He notices something about his opponent.
His attention goes to the opponent's hands. Then he spots a single white hair on someone's head. And he asks about it, wants to know what it means.
Just one white hair sparks this whole inquiry.
Yep, and the explanation uses analogies a kid could grasp. Old teeth fall out, new ones grow, leaves change color, they fall. Gentle intro to impermanence.
Nature's cycles.
Right. And someone comments on how sharp Siddhartha is. His karad attention is subtle, his kanakend intellect is sharp, his kal observation keen.
You can see that observant nature really developing.
Definitely. And interestingly, they decide to pause a rule about covering heads or using henna.
To hide the gray hairs, like trying to stop him thinking about aging.
Seems like it. Trying to shield him.
Which leads right into this debate on truth and suffering. They're actively discussing hiding things from him.
That's exactly it. Should we tell him about aging, sickness, death? The tough stuff.
And the argument against telling him is?
That looking back makes you sad, looking forward makes you weak, so just live in the present. Stay focused on now.
That sounds almost Buddhist. But the motivation seems different here.
Kind of ironic, right? The core idea is there, but here it's used to justify, well, hiding reality.
And the consensus is basically hide anything that causes suffering, pain.
That seems to be the dominant view. Let's keep him in this protected bubble.
But can that really work? Life happens.
It feels unsustainable for sure.
Yeah.
And the fact they say wake him immediately if anything happens suggests they know it's kind of fragile, this bubble.
Does hiding reality actually prepare you for it? Probably not.
Probably not.
So after this, he gets introduced to his teachers. Introduction to teachers.
Yes, a whole lineup of Bana pitchers, each an expert in something different.
Like what?
Vedas, the scriptures, archery for fighting, politics for ruling, poetry, prosody culture, communication, even astronomy. A full princely education.
Covering all the bases for a future king. And he gets a study buddy.
Yeah, a new learning companion.
Yeah.
Which would definitely affect how he learns, interacts.
And there's an omen mentioned. An elephant and a maiden appearing together.
Right. Seen as a really good sign. It's interpreted to mean Siddhartha will be this great scholar, a great king.
And an unmatched warrior in Bharatavarsha, ancient India. Wow, no pressure.
Seriously, imagine growing up with those kinds of expectations constantly hanging over you.
Yeah, intense. Then there's a quick mention of the significance of the lamp. To some.
The lamp, they explain, symbolizes two key things. Defen, knowledge.
Because it lights things up, lets you see. Makes sense.
And meditation. Because the steady flame is like a focus point, helps concentrate the mind.
Ah, interesting. Light, knowledge, focus. Connecting those ideas.
It's a really core concept in a lot of Eastern thought.
Okay, then we switch gears to kids playing again. The game of Gilli Danda and the question of truth.
Right, the gal at that game like Tipcat, and Siddhartha finds the gilli, the little wooden piece, really fast.
Too fast for the other kids.
Apparently, they accuse him of cheating.
Ooh. So how does he handle that? Does he argue?
He just defends himself by saying he spoke to the truth. That's it.
Simple assertion, but does it work?
Not really. The other kids still ostracize him. They think he cheated. So being truthful leads to social fallout for him here.
Another lesson about how complex truth can be in the real world.
Yeah, maybe planting some seeds there about truth and consequences.
Which brings us to the last part we're looking at. Siddhartha's silence and the nature of truth. His mom's upset about the cheating accusation.
Understandably. She's distressed. He was blamed when he was honest. She asked him, why didn't you fight back more? Defend yourself.
And his answer, it sounds like it was pretty deep for a kid.
It really is, he says. Climate state truth reveals itself.
Wow. Like, he just trusts that the truth will come out eventually on its own.
Seems that way. No need for him to force it or argue, just trust the process.
But his teacher has a different take.
Yeah, Dharmakar offers a more, let's say, pragmatic view. Says protecting yourself is a duty, which kind of implies that maybe sometimes little white lies are okay, socially necessary.
So you've got Siddhartha's almost intuitive trust in truth versus the practical rules of the game. Fascinating tension.
It really is. And his mother starts to see it too. She realizes she kind of misjudged him.
Yeah.
That he has this unusual wisdom.
And the scene ends with her thinking about his future.
Yes, she resolves to teach him to fight, envisions him as the greatest warrior in Bharatavarsha.
Who will eventually be known as Gautama Buddha. quite the foreshadowing, and maybe not quite the destiny she imagined for a warrior.
Exactly. It's a powerful ending to these early glimpses, showing all these complex influences swirling around him.
Okay, let's pull this together. What are the main takeaways from this deep dive into these early scenes?
Well, we've definitely seen hints of his core characteristics, right? That innate sense of justice, the compassion, even for someone like Gowrie who lied.
Yeah, and his questioning of things everyone else just accepts, like caste, plus that incredibly sharp observation skill.
And his really unique, almost profound understanding of truth even as a kid. These moments, even dramatized, give you a feel for the person he might have been becoming.
So for you listening, we hope this gave you some of those aha moments, a way to see the beginnings of this hugely influential figure without getting bogged down.
Just glimpses into the threads that would weave together later.
And maybe it leaves you with a thought to chew on, looking back at everything we discussed.
His discomfort with jewels, the grain case, questioning caste, noticing the white hair, the Gilly Danda incident.
Which of those early experiences do you think might have been the most important in shaping his later path, his journey to enlightenment?
It's worth thinking about. Maybe dig a bit deeper into the history, the philosophy around these stories. See what resonates most with you.